Okay, so last week we saw Ramchandraji's equipoise. We also saw Sita's strength, and we saw Lakshman as an awesome devotee and the spirit of devotion that Lakshman embodies and imbibes. And then after the class was over, somebody mentioned Sita's strength. So we had on one hand, Keike, wanting kingdom, wanting power, wanting attention, and going through this whole elaborate, what's the word? Scheming to be able to get power, to get attention, to secure. So, Sita. I was talking about Sita? Yeah, Sita's power. Then after the class, someone mentioned that Keike goes through this entire scheme to make sure that she can have power, she can have attention. She's securing her place in status. And then you see Sita here, who's just going to the forest, who has this ability to renounce wanting power, wanting status. And so this too is her strength. In fact, in the Hanuman Chalisa, when we talk about courage, or actually anywhere when we're talking about courage, but there's that one verse in Hanuman Chalisa where it says Hanumanji has the 5 types of courage. What's that verse? And then it's broken down what's the different types of courage. So Veera is, like warrior kind of courage, standing up to bully kind of courage. And then there is the ability to give in charity. Interesting that that's a courage. But I totally understand the ability to give, having, needing to have courage to be able to give. Sometimes even when we're just cleaning out our houses and we will put things away, and you will give this away, we'll give this away. Okay? And then, it takes a while to get through the whole house and then made the pile. And then you look at the pile and you think, maybe this I won't. Maybe this. Like that courage goes away so quickly after I'll give it away. And then Vairagya is a courage. Or sannyas takes immense courage to be able to give up something. Takes a lot of courage. To give away is also a giving up. Right? But when we give in charity, there's punya. I'm gonna get punya. So you kind of like holding on to this. I'll get punya. It's a good thing. But to renounce is giving up, and it's just giving up. Not having it anymore. That takes immense courage. Even when somebody has wronged us and we feel pain, even to give up that pain takes courage. Then to give up courage, to give up a belief system, or to give up a perspective, a view of things, to give up a power, status. You can get so quickly used to it. Having power, having status, having recognition. So, Sitaji's strength. And last week I mentioned that the strength was more, she loved more than anything else. More than the kingdom, she loved her. Happy. More than being angry with the situation, she loved her. So her ability to hold on to love is one of her strengths. But here we see also her ability to let go of whatever needs to be let go of. If you exiled, you have to let go. And even though that seems absolutely obvious and practical, we don't always let go. Whatever control we have over something, we don't want to let it go. And sometimes it's the simplest thing, Never mind Sita ji being queen of Ayodhya. Sometimes you'll see the helper in the house and they have control over the kitchen and they won't. Nobody's allowed in. And then you'll say, but we want you to learn some new dish. Please let somebody else. No, they will not give up what they have control over. And it can be something so small, huh? Or a kid playing with a toy. And then this is mine. Will you share it with this boy that's come? No, mine. It takes courage to give. And so, somebody might be able to give so much in charity, but they're not able to give up this. And then some people will give up this, but then charity, no need. So it's like, that's why they different types of courage. And that's Hanumanji's greatness, of course, is that he has all. But this was one of them, sannyas, being able to give up. And literally that's the exile. They're going into forest. You have to give up kingdom, have to give up power, control, status also. Like sometimes it's not even just having the power, it's having the status of it. And maybe we see this more as figureheads. I don't know why I was watching this, but there's an ex-prime minister, is it President Club of America. So like Bill Gates is still alive. And then, what's his name? No, Bill Clinton. Sorry, not Gates. Clinton is still alive. And then Bush is apparently they're really good friends, even though they belong to it was actually quite cute to see their banter when they were talking with each other. And then Obama joined, but he didn't seem to be as close. And then none of them wanted Bush in the club. No, not Bush, Trump. I don't even know why I saw this. But having been president of America, you want to maintain that status. So apparently they still announced. Every time at functions, they have to still be announced in as former president of the United States of America. So no. But you can imagine how that would matter to some people. Now, this is just my perception. Of course, I don't know them personally, but I can imagine Obama would really want that still there. But it looked like, and this is just perception, it's not true. It looked like George Bush didn't really mind, huh? Like, you want to call me president, call me. You don't want to call me, don't call me. Like, for some people, it can really matter. And for some people, you can let it go. Like, the status isn't who I am. That's the thing. Like, the more we define it to this is me and this is my worth, very important. If it's my worth, then it's very hard to give up. Because, of course, I want to maintain my worth. But this isn't my worth. This is just something I did. Right? So think of an athlete that won Olympic gold medal. It's just something you did. It's not your worth. Somebody else took part in the Olympics and didn't win a medal and just, thinks about, I went to the Olympics and it was such an amazing experience. It's not their worth. It was just a beautiful thing it's part of who they are, and it's not, but I want becomes my worth. If I determine something to be my worth, so much harder to give it up. So with status, this happens. If we consider the status to determine our worth, harder to give up. And so this is why knowledge is also an incredible courage. You wouldn't think knowledge is a courage, but you require immense courage to pursue knowledge, because knowledge means change. And change obviously needs courage. And so for me to be willing to see that that's not And then for me to be willing to, yeah, if it's not my worth, it's okay if I don't have it. Yeah. People have, remember, don't remember. People acknowledge, don't acknowledge. It's okay. But if it's my worth and people don't acknowledge, I get wounded. So what I've done is not what I'm worth. The position I hold is not what I'm worth. Is a side topic to saying Sita's greatness is she knew her worth. She didn't hold on to, I am Queen of Ayodhya and that's my worth. I'm Princess of Janakpuri and that's my worth. And wife of Sita and that's my worth. No, Rama. What's her worth? You don't need a criteria to have worth. This is really living spirituality. Because if I need a criteria to have worth, then I am judging you by your worth using that same criteria, which means I will judge some people as more worthy and some people as less worthy. And then how is that loving everyone and seeing oneness? Cannot, right? I can't see oneness if some people are more worthy and some people are less worthy. Then that's not me seeing Bhagavan in everyone. That's me seeing your worth belongs to what you did, what you look like, where you went, who you know, or whatever our definition of worth is. So, me attributing worth, my worth to something, you'll think, why is that a big deal? Aha, it's a big deal. Because then I attribute the same thing to you. And if I really want to just be able to love everyone and see everyone as Bhagavan, cannot attribute worth. Their worth is they Bhagavan. That's it. Bhagavan comes in any form, any shape, any size. Is there, whether the person is good looking, not good looking, my nationality, not my nationality, rich, not rich, has power, doesn't have power, Bhagavan is there. So that view gets blocked the minute we judge worth by a criteria. Sitaji's ability to just drop it. 1 minute I'm a princess, the next minute I'm walking barefoot on the ground, wearing bark. Like Ramchandraji gets highly praised for this, huh? 1 minute he's a king. Next minute he is exiled. Same for Sita. Same for Lakshman. All three of them had that quality that they could just let it go. Maybe Lakshman the least because he was still bodyguard to Ram. Right? Whether he had title of prince or didn't have the title of prince, his role was still bodyguard to Ram. And so his status didn't change so much because he valued his worth as per bodyguard to Ram, not to prince, which then is okay. So Lakshman's fine. My worth is I need to be near Ram. If our worth is I need to be near Ram, we're good. As long as we're not judging those who don't want to come near Ram as unworthy. Sitaji's strength. Okay, so we are in the village outside Ayodhya. Remember? Ramchandraji and Sitaji are sleeping under a beautiful tree on the ground. Even though, what was his name? Uhat, Raja. What was his name? What was his name? I have trouble pronouncing it. He offered Ramchandraji to sleep on the bed. He had a nice bed. Of course, he's a chieftain of a village. He's not king of Ayodhya, but nice enough. Bed's better than floor. So he said, please, please, you take my bed. Ramchandraji is very, very, very by the book. The rules of exile is you're not supposed to step into the kingdom. You're supposed to sleep on the floor. He slept on the floor. Nobody's here. Nobody will tell. He slept on the floor. Even when he goes to Kishkinda and he has to shoot Vali, he had to make Vali come out of the town because rule of exile, he's not supposed to go into a kingdom. Not only his, any other kingdom also. Rule of exile is he's supposed to stay in forest. So not that you go for a holiday in Bali. You cannot step into a kingdom. You have to be doing austerities in the forest. So he didn't sleep. Just because he was offered the bed, he didn't take it. Some of us would think, yeah, okay, you're offering. You saying, yeah, you definitely take it. You can move that out of the way so you can say. So, now if he's not going to sleep on the bed, nobody sleeps on the bed. Because like, how shameless are you? If you go and nicely sleep on the bed, if Ramchandraji is sleeping on the floor. No. They were not so say. Today our kids will, huh? Today our kids will royally go and sleep in the bed. They are totally shameless. But in Tetra Yuga, people were not so shameless. If Ramchandraji slept on the floor, they all slept on the floor. But Lakshman didn't sleep. If Ramchandraji is sleeping, somebody has to stay guard. So this Nisadhara Raja stayed guard with Lakshman. Anyway, he can't sleep on the floor, so he kept Lakshman. And he asked a question. Did I say this? Yeah. So this is called Lakshman Gita. Yeah, I did say. This section of the Ramayana is Lakshman Gita. There's many, many Gitas even within the Ramayana. It's called Lakshman Gita because Lakshman teaches it. Later on, Ramchandraji is teaching Lakshman. That's called Ram Gita. So here Nisadhara Raja says, how could KK do such a thing? I told you all. Yeah. And Lakshman starts answering that. And the beautiful thing is, he also reacted, and KK had given this decision of their exile. But here you see he has such clarity. One of the things, you'll be able to tell the characters I like. And the characters I don't like, I'm very transparent, aren't I? In Mahabharata, it's not so easy to have favorites. They're all so complex. Here, even here, it's hard not to like all the characters. They have cuteness. Like Lakshman has a cuteness with how fiercely he protects and loves Ram. But when you hear what he says in this Lakshman Gita, it's so profound. And you think, when did Lakshman get so smart? Sometimes even in our lives also. Maybe a family member will suddenly say something and you think, when did you suddenly become so smart? Of course, they may not be living it, but they can say it. Yeah, actually, Lakshman's living it. For all of Lakshman's temper tantrums and for all of his spontaneous actions, you never see Lakshman holding a grudge on anyone. In fact, in one of those fictional stories of the Ramayana, when I was reading it, they say that Ramchandraji held a little bit of a grudge against Lakshman because he left Sita ji and that's why she got kidnapped. Rubbish. It's totally fictional. Like if Lakshman only can't hold a grudge, how would Ramchandraji hold it? And so here you see that this heart is very pure, it's very clean. So when something's thought, it's expressed, but it's not held on to. Anger is not held on to. Spite or a negative judgment is not held on to. So he's saying here, this I think I mentioned quite elaborately in last week's class, that whatever we receive is a result of our karma, correct? I said that last week. And I also explained that it's not punishment. Did I explain that last week? No. Okay, so KK has exiled Ram to the forest. Lakshman is saying that Ramchandraji is facing the consequences of his karma. Now, when we see an action like exile to forest, we assume bad consequence. So it must have been a bad action. Do you all remember the action he did to get exiled to the forest? Something about the Tastu? Narad Muni story. Was that a bad action? No. So, can being sent to forest be a bad consequence? No. Yet when we hear he is exiled to the forest, we assume bad consequence. And then we go happily ahead and assume it was a bad action. It's not. It wasn't a bad action he did, and it's not a bad consequence because they have a ball of a time in the forest for 13 years. 1 year bad. Like, come on, do the math there. 13 out of the 14 years was good. It can't have been a bad action or a bad consequence. In our life too, we have decided this is a bad consequence. We've decided failing is a bad consequence. Insult is a bad consequence. Loss is a bad consequence. Why? And then based on that, we'll say, I don't know what horrible thing I did. Probably nothing. It's probably just a regular action. And this is regular consequence. And so what we see here is Lakshman has this very good wisdom. Like we judge too quickly. And the criteria for our judging is what I want and social norms. If we change social norms, where losing doesn't have stigma, it wouldn't be considered as a bad result. And then then we would never say, I must have done something bad, but I'm having to do this. Yeah. We've already determined it to be bad. And then we've blocked ourselves to be able to see the good that could be there. Right? I'm going to be exiled to the forest. Bad. Now, anything that good could come of it is going to be so much harder for me to see it. I guess a better example of this with our lives is when COVID happened. Ugh, bad. I fortunately did not have that reaction. When COVID first happened, it started here, right? Hong Kong, China. And the first thing I thought of was, oh, I forgot. When we had SARS, And the whole world freaked out. It wasn't so bad also. Right? Y'all remember that? Wasn't bad. Sure, people ran away from you if you sneeze, but other than that, SARS really wasn't bad. And so when the whole world was freaking out, I remember the first country was, I think it was Philippines, and they rang and they said, Hong Kong has COVID, please don't come. I'm like, I understand. Totally. Put down the phone. Second country that called, Singapore. Hong Kong has COVID, please don't come. I know. Better to be safe. Put down phone. Yes. People are canceling on me. They don't want me. This is a terrible consequence. Not at all. If I decided that's a terrible consequence, I could have gotten upset. How dare they? As if I have COVID, I can still go. Yeah, you don't want me, no problem. I'm so happy here on my couch. I really was. But if we decide this is a bad thing, how will we see good? How will we enjoy? And this we already know, right? Every card has silver lining. So when it says we are constantly facing the results of our actions, that doesn't mean bad things are happening to us because we did something bad. Firstly, is what happening actually bad? Usually not. And then what we did, maybe sometimes it wasn't the most intelligent thing. I agree. And now through the course of years, when I look back at things I did when I was younger, maybe I could have done that better. And then the consequence of that wasn't so good also. Because I actually could have done that better. But it was just the consequence of an action. And sometimes it's only when the consequence comes that we realize, oh, the way I did that was maybe out of fear, maybe out of pettiness, maybe out of spite, maybe out of ambition. Like why we do something is actually far more important than what we do in terms of our spiritual growth. In terms of outer success, what we do is as important. But in terms of our spiritual growth, why we do it is far more important than what we do. But please remember, in terms of outside, what we do is extremely important. So, why did I do that? Sometimes I do things out of ignorance. I didn't know that was going to happen. I maybe should have known, but I just wasn't smart enough. Now that it's happened, I'm smarter. Already that's success. Sometimes I did something out of stubbornness. You told me to do it, so I won't. We all do. Just because you said, bus, that's enough. Now I won't. But actually, even I want to do it. No, she said, so I won't. And then when the consequence comes, I'll see, was it worth it? And if the person's really stubborn, they'll say yes. That's the stubbornness holds strong. But if it hurts enough, like this Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum movie, right? He fought with son because he wanted to marry the girl, not of his choice. They left the country. Wow, it's quite an extreme reaction. Forget I'm not talking to you. I'll just leave the country on me. There's no hope of me talking to you, bumping into you. And then, how does the movie end? The very last scene is, You never called me back. Something like that. And then what's his answer? I shouldn't have to say sorry. Basically, that's the punchline, right? That's Amitabh Bachchan's last dialogue. It's like, you should have called me back. You should have forgiven me. You should have told me you love me. Aren't I your son? Something like that, huh? I've seen the movie ages ago, and basically Amitabh Bachchan is so stubborn in that movie, not as a person. I don't know him as a person. In the movie, the character is so stubborn. Like, don't expect me to say sorry. You should have just come back. Like, it causes so much pain. He didn't have a son for so many years. His wife was dukhi for so many years. Of course, it's a movie, but it's a nice way to show. Was it worth it? In that movie, he still wouldn't budge, huh? Like, how hard does it have to get before we start to see this action is causing me suffering? And that's the point of what this verse is saying. All what we experience is a result of our actions. Am I suffering? At some point in our life, yes. Why am I suffering? What is the cause? Not I'm a bad person, I did something wrong. It's for me to understand, what did I do that caused this suffering? Recognize the cause of the suffering so that change the thing that's making me suffer. The things that make me suffer will be like this kabhi khushi kabhi gums, that stubbornness really makes us suffer. Sometimes the thing that makes me suffer is carelessness. Or sometimes the thing that will make me suffer is what? And what else makes us suffer? Ignorance, anger, desire, for sure. Anger is from desire. I've gone blank on what makes us attachment. How could I forget what makes us suffer? Attachment makes us suffer. I went completely blank for a moment. Couldn't even remember attachment. Shut up. I'm totally not attached to attachment. But if I can see it, right? If I can see how the attachment is causing the suffering, I can see how the fear is causing the suffering, if I can see how the desire is causing the suffering, then change is possible. So for me to know that everything I am experiencing is a consequence of something I have done is for me to learn how to do so that I don't suffer. But also, we can never not suffer. Huh? We can, that poor Becharo Ram, what did he do? Only helped his devotee. And then, of course, he doesn't suffer. It appears as suffering. So then, to know that everything we are going through is a consequence of our actions and suffering cannot be avoided is for us to know actions cannot free us from suffering. This is punchline. But that's all I'm doing, actions? But actions cannot free you from suffering. So what will free me from suffering? Chalo, now you'll already know. Two things free us. What frees us? Jaldi, you should have answered by now. Very good, knowledge. Please, one person. Learn something from my Balvihar class. Second thing, quickly. Detachment is very hard to do. Something that's easier to do than detaching. Very good. My star student for the day. Got both answers right. Hard to detach, easier to love. It's always easier to attach than to detach. So attach to Bhagavan through devotion. So what will free me from suffering? Devotion. There's this song that's in my head that's so cute, so cute, so cute. Now my Hindi is so bad. How to sing it? Kalra aya ek chor. Krishna. Just making sure y'all know who's the chor. And then he asked, what will you give me to take? Sounds so much sweeter in Hindi. And then she says, take my winning, take my losing, take my crying, take my smile, take my halat, take my faith, and take my moods, take my, what else? Name. And then finally, whatever you can see, take. And whatever you can't see also, that also take. So cute, no? And the animation of the song is also too cute. Those expressions that she's making is too cute. Devotion. When we love only then we'll be able to let go. So, will actions give me freedom from suffering? Oi, people! How are you trying to get free from suffering? Going on diet. Watching Ambani wedding on social media. Apparently the jewels are quite the thing, just notice. Is it freeing us from suffering? Creating more suffering. Why don't I have those jewels? When you got those jewels, you'll be free from suffering? Not at all. How are we trying to free? Work harder. Make new friends. Get in touch with old friends. And isn't that how we're trying to get rid of our suffering? Exercise more. Dye hair. Blue, purple, green. They do. I don't understand how that will free you from suffering. How can blue hair free you from suffering? Action. We turn to actions. Not that we shouldn't do that. Maybe don't dye hair blue, but you can do action. It's not going to free you from suffering. If you want to be free from suffering, do the thing that frees you. Pursue knowledge. Increase devotion. See how beautiful Lakshman Gita is? Just from that one thing, huh? Don't blame KK. Why are you suffering? We all have nice long list. You didn't tell us the rules of the game before playing, so we are all suffering. My glasses broke. It's your fault I'm suffering. Right? Easy to blame KK. We also happily blame. Why are you having a bad day? The maid. Never listen. Why are you having a bad day? Temperature dropped suddenly, so everyone's sick now. So many wonderful excuses we have for why we're suffering, no? Rubbish. Why are you suffering? You caused it. Because you're a bad person? No. Just sometimes little foolish, sometimes little careless, sometimes little petty, sometimes little jealous, sometimes little angry. You're a normal person. Don't be normal person. Be wise person. Be devoted. Is being good enough? No. You have to be wise. Being good is not it. You will continue to suffer. Wise people will let it go. Like Lakshman. Is it KK's fault? Whose fault? Action was done in the past, consequences come now. Nobody's fault. It's just what it is now. But if I understand what I did in the past, I understand how it created the present, wiser. We get wiser. And sometimes the kids, I can't think of an example now. But sometimes the younger volunteers, maybe Balvia camp is a good example. The younger volunteers will come for Balvia camp and they're trying so hard to do something. And then I'll work in 2 seconds, done. Like they're trying to get the kid to do something. In 2 seconds, and they look at me and they'd be like, wow, you're so good. No, just experienced. You do something enough, you just know how to, right? You know when they lying, you know when they're not lying, you know when they actually need another slice of pizza, or you don't need to give them anything like that. Yeah. I know what a good example. This kid wanted to go bathroom. I said no. The volunteers looking at me like, shouldn't you just send? No. Of course, he came back 10 minutes later. He needs to go bathroom. No. Volunteers. Then some other kid came, said, I need to go bathroom. Go. Huh? How are you deciding this? Experience. That first kid asked at least 6 times. Didn't let him go any of the 6 times. He was fine, huh? When the class finished and it was time for Aarti, I said, go bathroom. No need. No, go. They don't need to go. No, I think you should go. How did you know? Just experience, right? If we pay attention, we will gain knowledge. With all the actions I do, if I pay attention, what causes suffering? What doesn't cause suffering? What is it that I am doing that is bringing about my suffering? There's no need to blame anyone. If you have to blame someone, sometimes personality types, we need to blame someone. Blame him. Don't blame people. When we blame people for our suffering, we give away our control. We give away our power. If we blame him for our suffering, we've given him our control and power. Very good. Why give somebody else our control and power? Actually, we should give it to him only. Your fault, I'm suffering. Why women have to have menopause? Couldn't you have come up with a better plan? You can scold him as much as you want, you can scold him. If we truly believe it's all he's doing, after a while, we'll accept. Okay, fine, you wanted us to have babies and all of the... Something, it will, right? So, Lakshman teaches this. There's a few other points in Lakshman Gita. a lot of emphasis on waking up, that this jiva is on a journey. This is what we have to remember, that this life is not all of it. We think this life is our story. And if you think like of a movie, any movie, or you think of these TV series that are fairly long, and when we think this is the story and this is the hero. Yeah. Harry Potter story, Harry is the hero. Voldemort is the villain. Hermione is the friend. We think this is it. But they are actors that were there in Harry. They keep going, right? Bichara, they can't get any roles now. Only Hermione. It didn't stop there, did it? After the TV series finished, it didn't stop. Or even the Friends, 10 years solid. It's still so popular. It's still so popular, the Friends series. But the series stopped. Everyone got married, had their bachas, stopped. But the actors still continue. Their lives have still continued. Our lives too. We think this life, from birth to death, and we the hero, and this is the story. It's not. This life is but one chapter. The book is much longer. The story is much. Why are all these things happening? This is one chapter. When will I understand why all these things are happening? When I get to the end of the book. No? Little bit as we're reading, we figure out, oh, oh. All those things we figure out when we're reading the book. Life also, let it be. Slowly, slowly we work things out. Then one plot twist will come. Ooh, then we'll work that out also. So, this is another very important point of Lakshman Gita. To remember that the jiva is on a journey. And then there's quite a bit of discussion on Maya. We won't go into the... Let's do a little story and move forward in the Ramayana. Where's my watch? 10 minutes for story we have. So next morning they wake up. No. Next morning they wake up? No. This night only. Why the villagers want all the village people came and they were all sleeping. Yeah. And then in the middle of the night, Ramchandraji wakes up Sita ji. And he wakes up Sumitra, the chariot driver. Lakshman's already away. And the three of them go into the chariot and they sneak out of the village to the river Ganga. So the Ayodhya Vasis were all following Ramchandraji, but he didn't want them to continue to follow. Nor did he want to not be true to his word, and he wanted to continue into exile. And so he left at night so that they would be forced to return back to Ayodhya, and they're still relatively close to Ayodhya for them to be able to go back. So he deliberately does this while they were sleeping. I can't remember what I said. I have to tell you all about them sleeping. And then Dashrath Maharaj gives a message. Dashrath Maharaj knew that Ramchandraji wouldn't come back. He hoped, and actually what he had said is, he told the chariot driver, Sumitra, that you take him to the forest and then you bring him back. KK said he has to go to forest, no? You keep him there 14 minutes and bring him back. Like Dashrath Maharaj really really, really the anguish that he felt of not wanting him to go. And so he sends a message with Sumitra saying, don't let him go. But Ram explains that this is something that has to be done. And then this is where we see the definition of son. So the word putra in our Sanskrit means son. And the meaning of the definition of the son is one who takes the father to heaven. Son, daughter. Was a more patriarchal society, so they would use masculine terms. Who is a son? The one who is supposed to take the father to heaven. Who is a daughter? One who is supposed to take the father to father, mother, both. But here Dashrath Maharaj he's talking about. Because Dashrath Maharaj gave the boon, so it's talking about Dashrath Maharaj, and so the word father is used. Now, to go to heaven, you need punya. So, if I do things that are meritorious, I get punya, I experience heaven. If I do things that are hurtful, selfish, I get papa, and I experience hell. When? Here and in the hereafter. So when I do things that are petty and spiteful, even here I experience hell. And sometimes you'll see like these, in these Black Friday sales, right? To get to that item, pushing and they shoving and they scratching and then you're in hell. That's hell. You don't have to go die to experience it. Yeah, no. So that desire, which desire? To get that item takes you to hell. You can have good desire to sit quietly, meditate, listen to bhajans. Those desires take us to heaven. Or desire to have, to give, to spend time loving, in harmony. So, we will experience heaven based on what we do. We will experience hell based on what we do. And then we do so much actions. And we don't get all the results here because of limitation of time. So, whatever we don't experience here, we go to a hell or we go to a heaven. We have. Hinduism has. And Hinduism doesn't ever do only one. There's many heavens. There's many hells. Because always should have choice. Like, if I did more punya, I should have a higher heaven to go to. Yeah. Who is a son? Who is a daughter? That takes the mother or father to heaven. Meaning, right now, the way we interact with our parents, are we making them experience heaven? Right now, our interactions should feel like heaven. And then, afterwards will be the memory of us, or also actions that we do that can help them. So why do we do Shraddh? In their name, we do punya. So wherever they are experiencing heaven. Right now, I'm not with them. Right? They've already gone. Where, I don't know. But if I do punya here, they will experience heaven wherever they are. Dashrath Maharaj gave a promise. Not keeping the promise is papa. Papa will make you experience hell. duty of a son, make sure the parents experience heaven. So Ramchandraji tells the chariot driver, I have to go. I have to go into the forest. I have to, if he calls me his son, this is my duty to him. But him going to the forest makes Dashrath Maharaj miserable. So miserable that Dashrath Maharaj gives up his life. How does that work? Dashrath Maharaj's last word. Easy to guess. Cha, so smart your last. Whatever we say at the moment of dying is where we go. So yes, he was separated from Ram for a brief period of time while here on earth. Left him pining so desperately for Ram that his last thought is Ram. And so now he is eternally with. Did he not send his father to him? When we say Ram was a perfect son, we have to even understand what this means, what he did. People may not agree he was perfect husband, but everyone will agree he was perfect son. How mean they are. Kaushalya Mata also separated. For 13 years, she didn't see her son. 14 years. We don't think of it. Interesting how we only think of certain things, huh? Sita was sent to forest, we also think of it. Kaushalya had to also forego not having her son, we don't think of it. We're so biased. Actually, we don't think it. Somebody thinks it and tells us to think it, and we just happily believe them. So, Ram, Lakshman, Sita have left all the villagers sleeping peacefully. They have snuck out in the middle of the night. Sumitra gives the message of Dashrath Maharaj, Ram, please don't go. Ram explains why he has to go. Sumitra understands. Weeping, he leaves them. And then he has to remove any, because otherwise people would follow the tracks. And the scene is very sweet in Tulsi Ramayana. It says even the horses were crying. The horses didn't want to move. They didn't want to leave Ramchandraji. Horses are considered to be highly sattvic. Even in the Mahabharata, the horses that Krishna looked after, and often they cried with him as well. Like when Krishna was covered with the arrows in the middle of the Mahabharata. So they are, I mean, most of us have seen horses, they're quite domesticated animals. They're incredibly sattvic. Very, very gentle. They very possibly could have immense devotion. Okay, we pause here for today. Little bit early. Probably I couldn't talk more. But now they have to cross the river Ganga, which is a very exciting story about Kevat. And I don't want to rush the story of Kevat. Actually, we should have crossed the river Ganga today because next week there's no class. Next 2 weeks there's no class. I will be in London. Never mind, we'll stop here at the river Ganga. We'll do Ganga Snan for 2 weeks.
So this was Ram who made his father sad. Right? So he says Ram. You can make our parents sad. Now we know Ram.
Ram didn't make his father sad. He was fulfilling the word. The consequence of Dashrath's action is that he had to suffer. Why did Dashrath suffer? He was careless. He happily made promises. He didn't know what they were. So many times he would do that. Whatever you ask for, I will give you. Such pride. Whatever you ask for, I will give you. So what made Dashrath sad wasn't Ram. It was his carelessness of how he spoke. Looking for my tissue. So, are we causing our parents to be sad? If we are careless, not for anything else. So Ram himself didn't do everything, right? Dashrath is facing the consequences of Dashrath's action. Ram is facing the consequence of Ram's action. KK will have consequence of KK's action. Ram didn't make Dashrath sad. Point of today's class was stop blaming other people for. We make our parents sad. Yeah. Sometimes deliberately. Sometimes not deliberately. As a daughter, you have to go. They only got you married. Consequence of their action that they got you married. So next time you have to go, you can tell them, this is the consequence of your action. No, the point of this wasn't you stick to them like glue. You do the best you can to bring them happy. Not that you're giving in to attachment. Ram didn't give in to attachment. Dashrath's highly attached to him. Dashrath Maharaj, highly attached to him. He didn't allow that attachment to be his deciding factor. He allowed dharma to be his deciding factor. What should be our deciding factor? Dharma. Why? Because I'll have to face the consequence of my action. Understanding? Any other question? Online people have questions. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukhabhag bhavet. Asato ma satkamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare Ram Shri